Good afternoon, sir. So may I take the chair?
Welcome, Preeti.
Thank you, sir.
Kindly introduce yourself to the board.
So my name is Preeti Kumari. I was born in Bihar, where I trace my roots to, but I grew up largely in Delhi. I am a political science graduate from Miranda House, University of Delhi. Presently, I'm undergoing training in IRS, Customs and Indirect Taxes, including GST. I joined service in December 2022.
But you have not mentioned the same in your DAP.
So actually, the DAP was filled before the service allocation. So it only has the detail of me qualifying the examination, but not about the service allocation.
After this, you got selected in which year?
So last year, Civil Services Examination 2021. So I belong to the batch of 2022.
Okay, up to October 20, you have failed.
Yes.
So this is after that. So this is your fourth or fifth attempt?
So this is my fifth attempt. I got selected in my fourth attempt.
Okay. So up to third, you have failed.
Yes.
So you are in Indian Revenue Service?
Yes, sir.
And you are at which stage now? You have completed, you have been posted, or you are still undergoing training?
So we have just started with the training. So just the introductory modules about the structure of the department and what all opportunities we have, that is being done.
How much is the total expenditure, which is basically the expenditure incurred on the income tax department? You are in income tax or in the customs?
So I am in customs and indirect,
In customs,
including GST.
so custom and GST is now same.
So it's under the same department. After the introduction of goods and services tax, the department itself, the board itself was renamed from CBEC, which included excise and customs, to Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. So we take care of the three main pillars of our department is customs, GST and narcotics.
So the custom still exists
Yes, sir.
despite GST.
Yes, sir.
How much is the contribution of the GST and how much is the contribution of the customs towards the overall revenue?
So GST is the highest proportion of contribution. So the exact percentage I cannot recollect right now. And so customs has around 4% of contribution. It has the lowest contribution in terms of revenue across all the taxes into the coffer.
Just now, of course, the parliament has been this the session should have been basically to discuss the budget.
Yes, sir.
How much was the total revenue? How much is the total expenditure as per the budget?
So I'm not aware of the exact numbers. I will read up on it.
And what is deficit financing?
So basically, the government, to fulfill its developmental objectives, incurs a lot of borrowings, and that creates fiscal deficit. So when we seek to dedicate some amount of our finances to finance that kind of deficit, it is deficit financing. It can be either through borrowings or from other sources.
Borrowing. So we go more in for borrowing than the income which we are generating?
So not more than the income generating, but there is a significant amount of borrowing that the government has to take to fulfill its developmental objectives.
I'm not able to understand. Then where is the deficit? If the income is more and expenditure is less, then there is no deficit. If expenditure is more and income is less, then there is a deficit.
So in balance sheet, ultimately it comes down to zero. But the deficit that we have from after whatever revenue that the government generates, there is still some deficit left. So that is fulfilled through our borrowings, and that becomes our deficit financing.
Borrowing, there is something called bonds and some the government undertake. What is the controversy recently? Some banks in the USA failed. What is that? Can you explain in just 4 or 5 sentences?
So the banking crisis in United States came out due to its domestic reasons and some structural reasons with the bank as well as the global challenges. For example, so the Silicon Valley Bank, it was basically a venture capitalist bank, and it had its own balance sheets had some issues, one. And second, sir, it largely was invested by, it had the deposits of startups from across the world. And because of the global slowdown, due to the Russia-Ukraine war and overall economic crisis that we've been seeing post-COVID, the bank had a number of issues that it was facing. So, sir, that led to a bank run kind of situation in that particular bank. Then we also had challenges with credit suisse and so on. But, sir, overall, the situation was more structural and more specific to those banks. So, the regulatory institutions in the United States have given us the confidence that they'll pitch in and the crisis will be resolved. And the Indian government has also taken certain steps so that our depositors are safe.
Can you able to expand the word structural?
Sir, one of the structural problems with those banks was that because it was the deposits were largely from one source, which were the startups. And so if something happens to the startup industry, they will be affected more. In contrast to that, our banks are largely diversified.
Was it nothing linked to the yield on the bonds?
Yes, sir. That was also one of the problems in the balance sheet.
Now, monetary policy, increasing the interest rate on the fixed deposit, bonds have a low yield. How do you define this sort of an imbalance in the banking system?
So I did not understand the question well, if you could.
Which is preferred sort of a taxation in a developing country, direct or indirect?
So ideally, we would have relied more on direct because it is more progressive, and indirect taxes are called regressive because the impact is equal on somebody who is rich or somebody who is poor. But sir, given the needs of our country, we also have a significant dependence on indirect taxes, which is through GST.
How much is the incidence of taxation in India?
So I'm not aware of the exact.
You have studied in Miranda. Can you just tell us from where this Miranda name came and about your college?
Yes, sir. Sir, the college was established on 7th March 1948, and the then Vice Chancellor, he proposed the name of Miranda, and there are actually 3 interesting stories about why Miranda was chosen. It's the name of his daughter, it's also the name of his favorite actress, and it's also the name of the protagonist of Shakespeare's play Tempest. And it was probably considered that a woman should be like that protagonist of Shakespeare's play. So these are the reasons. And so it's called Miranda House because it was one of the first residential colleges in University of Delhi.
What basically this Sarveshwar Dayal Saxena's poems and Harivansh Rai Bachchan poem, what is the difference or the similarity in them?
Sir, there are more similarities and differences when I read their poems, and that is why I like both of their poetries. So one, there is a lot of emphasis on life and life struggles and how one can overcome that. So that gave me a lot of strength when I was preparing. For example, sir, Harivansh Rai Bachchan's poem Agnipath, that's one of the famous poems. And similarly, Sarveshwar Dayal Saxena has written a poem, Ab main suraj ko doobne nahi dunga. I will never let the sun set. And these poems gave me a lot of strength. Secondly, sir, these poems came at a time in the trajectory of Hindi poetry when one was experimenting with the forms of writing. So they do not necessarily follow the patterns of rhythm, but they do follow a language which is very easy to understand. So, sir, these are some of the similarities.
If you categorize Veer Ras, Bhakti Ras, Raudra, Hasya, Sarveshwar Dayal Saxena's poem falls in which category?
Sir, I think Prem Ras, and I'm not aware of the technical word, but something also related to nature.
Chayabad?
Could be, sir.
Preeti, your birthplace is Patna, is it?
Yes, sir.
Tell us something about Patna city and its history.
So Patna is a modern city that developed out of the Patliputra that Bihar was known as. And presently, sir, it is at the fulcrum of Bihar's economic growth. It has the highest level of urbanization in Bihar and also a very high population density. So in terms of the opportunities that it presents, there are emerging opportunities in the IT sector in Patna. Culturally, sir, it is home to the Bihar Museum, which houses cultural artifacts like the Yakshini, the Didarganj Yakshini of Bihar. And recently, sir, we also have the old pool has been replaced and a new marine drive style of pathway has been created in Patna. And so it also though has its problems, for example, urban flooding and that of congestion and pollution. But so overall, Patna is a city where I've also lived for 4 years. So it's a place close to my heart.
How can you ignore Gurdwara of Patna?
Pardon, sir?
How can you ignore Gurdwara of Patna?
How can we?
Ignore Gurdwara of Patna.
Sorry, sir. Yes, it's also one of the important places of Guru Hargobind Singh.
Yeah. Your father is working in scientist in Jal Shakti department.
Yes, sir.
Tell us something about Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan.
Yes, sir. So the Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan is one of the most successful water agreement treaties, where we have divided the water of Indus and its tributaries. Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, these are the rivers which are largely directed towards Pakistan, and the other 3 tributaries towards India. And so over the years, even though we have seen so many wars, this treaty has survived and has been a marker of success between both the countries. And so recently, though, there have also been issues about creation of new hydroelectric projects, run-of-the-river projects across the tributaries. So those are some issues that keep cropping up. But overall, sir, we've created a strong diplomatic channel to keep this in place.
Why we could not clean Ganga in spite of so many sincere efforts?
So one of the major problems with cleaning Ganga is the kind of population density that lives along with Ganga. And so the whatever solutions that we have come up with, they've only been ad hoc in some ways. They've only been able to make incremental changes. But sir, for cleaning Ganga, there has to be a transformation in the way of life across the states and across all its tributaries. So that has not happened. However, sir, we've taken a lot of steps under Namami Gange, and there have been also other projects along with it. For example, sir, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that has also helped in cleaning Ganga, and a lot of technological interventions are also being done for cleaning Ganga.
Why could not we check the polluting points?
Yes, sir. So we've made efforts to check the sources of pollution. But sir, the fact that the household and the industrial sewage is being directed towards the river, that remains a recurring problem. And so, sir, the municipalities across all these cities, they also have to make a lot of effort. Plus, sir, due to climate change, the overall e-flow of the river, that is also reducing. So the self-generating capacity of the river to clean itself, that has also gone down. So, sir, the challenges now are both man-made and natural, and we need to keep making efforts at it, which we are doing.
One of your extracurricular is empowerment of women through banks. What is that?
Sir, I wrote an essay on the empowerment of women through banks. It was conducted by the organization SIDBI. So banks play a very important role in financial inclusion. For example, sir, Paytm today has partnered with UNDP to create a program called Paytm Asha Kiran, where it is training rural women in becoming banking correspondents. And that is, so they are both empowered, trained, as well as included. Other banks like RBL, sir, they are working on financial inclusion. So, sir, banking not only ensures that women have access to some safe place to deposit their money, but also that they'll have access to cheap credit. For example, so we have the self-help group bank linking program. That has been a game changer. In Bihar, sir, we have a SFG organization called Jivika. So Jivika Didis have also got access to banks. Other than that, sir, bank also works as a source of employment for women. And we know that a lot of women seek jobs so they can balance their work life. So the banking sector also offers opportunity for that, and overall helps in empowerment of women.
Has all these efforts given any results?
Yes, sir. They have. And we see that after the introduction of the Jan Dhan Yojana, the number of bank accounts of women have increased. And so there are some banks like the Bandhan Bank, which have worked on focusing on women. It started from the rural areas of West Bengal. And today, sir, out of the 80,000 crore loans that were dispersed, around 55,000 crores were given to women. And these are women who are doing small odd jobs across the hinterlands of the country. And so they have been empowered. And so I do think that it has paid results.
But still, women are not safe in their houses, cities, and workplaces. What is your take on that?
Yes, sir. So it is a fact that women's safety remains an issue, whether it is in houses or outside. And so that has to do, one, with the kind of socialization that is happening in our houses and in our society. So we are working on that through efforts like the Beti Bachao Andolan, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan. But sir, also in other ways, when we talk about women's safety outside of our homes, we are working on last mile connectivity for women, for improved mobility for women, and for ensuring that we have street lights and roads and these kind of efforts. And so even within our homes, women can be empowered when we ensure that women are educated well. So sir, that also we are ensuring through better enrollment, better outcomes. For example, so in Bihar, we ensured that to retain girl children in schools, the state government provided for bicycles, the state government provided for uniforms, bags, and also toilets in schools so that women do not drop out once they reach the menstruating age. So sir, a collection of all of these efforts will ultimately ensure that women are safe within the houses and outside.
In spite of so many efforts at every level, we could not stop the child marriage.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason for that? Why people are still going for child marriage?
So the fundamental reason for this is that the practice sustains because girl children are seen as a burden. That after a certain age, one will have to marry them off and the dowry will have to be paid. So why not do it early and get rid of that burden? That is the kind of understanding that people have. So this will change when we ensure that girl children are educated and educated well, and they can stand on their feet and become economically empowered. Because sir, at the end of the day, that does play a very important role in how women are seen in families and what kind of decision-making power they will have. Other than that, sir, because we already have legislations against child marriage, so better enforcement of that has to be done, which is being done in different states. We can identify hotspots of child marriage, for example, in areas of Rajasthan and Haryana. It's very prevalent. So, sir, I think that if the society works in tandem with government, it can be controlled.
Is it due to some historical reasons or some other reasons are there?
So, historical reasons in terms of the fact that the practice is sustained for so many years. That is one reason. So, in the past, we have certain cases, even in Indian history, where some of the renowned social reformers also got their daughter married at a young age. So this has been going on for centuries, and it is time that we get rid of this.
You're telling me about the practice, not the historical reasons.
So I'm not aware of the exact reason, but just the fact that it has been going on.
Okay, you're a student of political science.
Yes.
We have adopted the parliamentary system, and there is one presidential democracy system also. What is the difference between the both?
So the difference between
parliamentary democracy and presidential form of government democracy.
So in the parliamentary form of government, parliament is at the center of the entire government system, and generally it does go along with the democratic system. So and the main difference between parliamentary and presidential is that in the presidential system, president has more powers in terms of decision making, and the legislature or the parliament has, one cannot say lesser, but power which is distinct. In parliament, we ensure that the executive's accountability to the parliament is ensured. In presidential, for example, in the United States, the kind of power that the president enjoys is far more superior to what we have here. And so even in terms of election, there they can choose directly the president as the appointee. Here we choose a political party, and then they come up with a council of ministers, and the party with the majority then chooses the prime minister.
Should I conclude that you want to say that parliamentary system is a weak system for governance?
So I believe that parliamentary system is actually a more stronger system because it has better checks and balances and better mechanisms to ensure accountability. And that is why I think, sir, our constitution makers went for a parliamentary system rather than a presidential system.
Let us see around. Israeli parliament and in Pakistan parliament has passed a ruling that they can overrule the verdict of Supreme Courts. Can we do it in India also? You know, it happened in Pakistan and in Israel also that
Yes. Yes.
if it happens in India, then.
Sir, in case such a legislation is passed in the parliament, because we have a very strong and independent judiciary which follows the doctrine of basic structure, it will be overruled. Because, sir,
Who will overrule it?
pardon, sir?
Who will overrule it?
Sir,
When Parliament say that we are the stronger, but we are directly elected by the people, we are the voice of the people. The other one are nothing. And how Supreme Court can, because it is the Supreme Court judgment which can be overruled by the Parliament. It is what happened in Israel and Pakistan.
Yes, sir. So actually, the parliament and the judiciary, the beauty of Indian democracy is that they work in tandem. So if the judiciary, because it has powers under the constitution for judicial review, and it finds that any legislation undermines the basic structure of the country, then it can overrule such a decision. And so like we saw in Israel, there was a humongous public protest where the country was brought at a standstill on this decision because it sort of undermined the independence of the judiciary. And it undermined what the judiciary can do for the people. So if such a legislation is passed in India, I think that will be a natural response, that the judiciary will override it, keeping in mind the basic structure of the constitution.
You know what happened during emergency?
Yes, sir.
All the rulings of this judiciary was overruled by Parliament.
Yes.
The 42nd Amendment, all the powers of the other system was restricted, and the separation of powers was just done away with.
Yes.
My question again is, can it happen in India? Can it still happen in India?
So the possibility of that happening is always there. But sir, I think the institutions are so strong that we will ensure that there retains separation of power and the rule of law stands above any such decision.
Tell us something about Madhubani painting. You have the hobby is Madhubani painting, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
So Madhubani painting is a historical folk painting from Bihar. It belongs to the same Mithila region that I come from. It founds its roots in Sita ji and Ram ji's wedding, where Raja Janak asked the whole village to be decorated with paintings. And so they drew Madhubani paintings. So basically it's a very colorful form of art, traditionally done on walls. And now it's also done on paper. And that is where I also do it. And so it has the motifs of gods, of nature, sun, moon, trees, these kind of motifs. It's very colorful, and so a distinct thing about Madhubani painting is that we don't leave any vacant space. So the whole paper is filled with colors and drawings, and it's put under a border, and it's a sight to see and remembrance.
How do you compare it with other school of paintings like Kangra and Kishangarh?
Yes. So Kangra painting is, so the main difference with Kangra or Kishangarh painting would be, sir, that in Madhubani painting, the human figures are more geometric. So, for example, sir, in Kishangarh paintings, there is an effort to make it look more natural and more human, more in the human form. Here we go with geometric designs and stick-like representation. And sir, in terms of story building also, Kangra paintings relies a lot on Jayadev's Gita Govind, which had a lot of stories of Krishna. And here, sir, we have a mix of, we also have representation of Krishna, we have Ram, Sita, nature. So largely this difference is there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Preeti,
Yes, sir.
you have studied international relations.
Yes, sir.
Tell me in short, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the parameters which decide the relations between the countries, good or bad, whatever.
The main parameters will be strategic interests, national security, territorial sovereignty, geography of a country, the economic relationship between two countries, the kind of history or the historical or cultural relations that two countries share, and also some people-to-people ties.
Okay. You studied political science, right? Tell me how politics is a science.
So the essence of science is that there should be some kind of predictability. And while the rigid natural sciences generally mean that if two things are blended or two things come together, then the third will follow. So in political science also, we do have a certain sense of predictability. For example, sir, in the electoral system, we have different kinds of electoral systems. And generally, sir, for example, we say that in a multi-party democracy, there will be a certain number of political parties that will be there. In terms, also, sir, for example, we have different theories of democracy. So in that, sir, we have different models, for example, the representative democracy and direct democracy. So we have tried to create certain patterns and theories out of politics also. In this way, sir, we have evolved as a science.
See, you heard the principle equal pay for equal work, right? See, for a post, there is a man, there is a woman. The woman doesn't want to work on hazardous industry, as a difficult post. They don't want to work in the night also. They should not. We don't post them. So, are they working equally? If they are not, then how they are claiming equal pay?
Sir, in a difficult posting, if there is a man and a woman, maybe they will not do similar roles. If in the hypothetical situation that you shared, sir, maybe they'll not do identical and similar roles, but their contribution can still be equal. For example, sir, if the woman is not doing the duty at night, maybe she will do extra hours in the morning. So, sir, equality should not be equated with similarity and doing identical work. And women, sir, they also have special roles and responsibilities in the society that we live in. For example, sir, the role of motherhood that they perform, and we have the Maternity Benefit Act. So we do have to make some distinct special provisions for them to perform their roles while also accepting that they are contributing. So, sir, equal pay for equal work is a promise of our directive principles, and it should be upheld.
Is it applicable in this case?
So it should be applicable.
Is it applicable? Should be all right.
It is applicable because both of them have the same merits to come to that position. And at the end of the day, if when the work is being appraised, if they are both contributing significantly, then sir, they should be.
Okay. You've chosen IPS as a second choice, right? That's very good. Now tell me, police is a force or it is for the helping people, like Delhi police says, always for you. But day in and day out we say they are work like a force. Is it a force or it is for the benefit of people?
So I think it is both. And so just like in our department, we say that we have to do the role of enforcement for the non-compliant and facilitation for the compliant. Similarly, sir, in the police, we have to be a force for those who are creating a menace in the society, and we have to stand for the welfare of the poorest of the poor and the weakest of the weakest in the society. So, sir, I think it has to perform both the roles.
Tell me 5 things which will improve from IRS you are already in. When you become IAS, what will improve for you?
So the first thing that will improve for me is that the canvas of opportunities that I will have.
The number 1. Number 2.
So there will be personal satisfaction that the dream that I saw when I was in school, that is fulfilled because I always endeavored for administrative services. So my family would be very happy because of this. So fourth, in terms of the career trajectory that an IAS officer has, which is a little bit better than the IRS officers, so that will be there. I'll be happy enough for that. And so lastly, so I'll also get to do the foundation course in Missouri, which I could not last year because I was writing the exam again. So I think I'll be happy about that also.
So you will be entering from IRS to IAS for these reasons, which you have told just now. Then you said this will happen.
So this will happen. This will give me happiness. But so the main reason why
that's what I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
What will happen exactly?
Yes, sir. So what will happen is like the couple of reasons that I gave in this one also is that I will personally have a lot more opportunities to work in diverse sectors.
That's all right. Number 1.
Yes, sir. And so the other reasons are a byproduct of this. So I'll be more than happy about it.
What are those? When IRS to IAS, what will exactly?
Sir, actually, I do have this understanding that where I am today is actually a big enough space. So if I say that if I want to do public service, I can do here. If I want to do something positive for people, I can do here. So, sir, there are not too many reasons for this change. The couple of reasons that I listed, these are the ones for which I aspire to join the administration.
Okay, I'll be more specific. What will be your personal gain? Personal. From IRS to IAS. Personal.
So my personal gain will be that the kind of work that I will do for the next 30-34 years, I will have more diverse opportunities there. And that will be more fulfilling to me in the way I see my career. Because so here I'll work in the Ministry of Finance, I'll work in the revenue sector. Then I can also work in health, education, disaster management. I can work both in the field as well as in the...
That's all right. Most personal.
So this is my personal reason.
Personal gain to Preeti Kumari.
So this is my personal gain, that when I see my life, I see it as a balance between work and life. And in terms of work, sir, if I get something which is more challenging, more diverse, then that is something that I'll enjoy more. So that is the gain.
Okay. Preeti,
Yes, sir.
is Pakistan enemy country?
No, sir. Pakistan is not an enemy country. It's a neighbor. And we have...
Neighbor cannot be enemy.
Sir, neighbors can be enemy, but I don't think, sir, that the tag of enemy goes well with our diplomatic ideals, which stands on the basis of Panchsheel principles. And
do you really apply Panchsheel when it comes to Pakistan? When they are clearly, intervening into your sovereignty, creating so many unwanted issues. And if Panchsheel is there, then why are you supporting Balochistan?
Sir, we are supporting Balochistan and we raise that issue because we also want to raise our voice strategically. So if Pakistan is supporting cross-border terrorism, is creating menace in India, then we need to take a stand and a strong one. So we are doing that. But sir, other than that, we have always made our position very clear that terror and talks will not go together, but we're always ready for diplomatic engagement. And we had that when Prime Minister Modi ji called all the SAARC members after his appointment. When he went to Pakistan, those kind of efforts that he made in the recent past. And so the only reason why we are not talking right now is because there's no commitment over terrorism and stopping that. And so if those fundamental issues are resolved, then we are more than happy to revive our diplomatic relations with Pakistan.
So since the birth of Pakistan, they have never been anything that we expected them to be. In what way or what kind of inspires you to not call them enemy country?
So I think culturally, India has never seen anybody as its enemy. So, sir, first point will be that.
So even somebody is deciding to have 1,000 cuts.
Yes, sir.
Deciding to send terrorists.
Yes, sir.
Forced us to be into the war 3 times. Still, you don't consider that as an enemy country. So, is it really a pragmatic approach towards international relations, or it's very naive approach towards international relations?
Sir, it would have been naive if we would have only had the sense of idealism that it's not an enemy and we will not do anything. But sir, it is pragmatic because we are accepting that we'll not call it an enemy state, but we'll also raise every voice that we can against its wrongdoings, whether it is in the United Nations, whether it is in other regional bodies, or whether it is in ensuring that we take actions like we did after the Uri attack. So it's a balance.
So if you are given you get IFS foreign service, which country would like to serve?
Sir, I think I would like to work in the ASEAN countries because looking east is where the opportunities lie for us in the coming years. And there's a lot of opportunities both in terms of economics as well as in terms of the kind of cultural relations.
But nothing much is happening off late with ASEAN, if you see that way. This particular establishment is more looking towards west rather than looking east. So do you really think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities there?
So I do personally see a lot of opportunities there, and we have to keep balancing between our look west, act west, as well as our act east policy. And so the important pillar of act east would also be Indo-Pacific, something that is an emphasis of the current government.
But okay, but looking at the service preferences that you've given, it seems that you have made sure that you'll not get that thing.
Sir, since it was an expression of my preferences, so in that order, sir,
So because see, it's very natural for someone who has studied political science in the graduation and clearly has a lot of knowledge of it, have a good exposure, not willing to serve India on the international platform. It's really puzzling to me. That's why I'm asking.
So actually, it would have been a very wonderful opportunity. But being the elder daughter of my family, I would just also want to stay close to my family. That is the main reason for.
So can't the family stay close to you? Why you need to stay close to the family? Or where is your family situated in Delhi?
Yes, sir.
If in case you get Tamil Nadu cadre, then?
Yes, sir. But sir, I would still be closer to them, and culturally.
Do you think how much time it takes from Spain and UK to reach Delhi by flight as against from Chennai to Delhi? Almost the same time, maybe 3-4 hours here and there.
Yes, sir. So, but the tickets would also be expensive, and
that you don't worry. That the system will take care. That's not an issue.
Yes, sir.
So you want to go every week to Delhi wherever you're posted?
No, sir.
Then?
But so generally, the kind of to and fro that one can do within the country, that is more. And my parents can also keep coming to wherever I'm posted, and I can keep going during my leaves. And secondly, sir, in terms of the kind of work opportunities that the foreign service provides, I'm very interested in it. But so I'm also more interested in the administrative service and the police services. So, sir, it's a simple expression.
We'll just call you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.